You're listening to the Jam Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is world renowned photographer Joyce Tenneson. Welcome to the show, Joyce.
Jan, it's a pleasure. What can I say? What a way to spend a rainy day. I'm teasing you, of course. I love being I love talking with other people who love the arts.
Thank you. I feel the same way. So I'm really glad that we could do this today. You and I met at the Illuminate Film Festival this past April, and
In
your
Santa Barbara.
in Santa Barbara. Yes, the Illuminate
Yes.
Film Festival in Santa Barbara, beautiful Santa Barbara. And the documentary is Unveiled, a heroine's journey, and it premiered. I don't know if it premiered, but it was shown at the Illuminate Film Festival. And afterwards, you and I got to talk a little bit about the film, and I said to you then, I really want to interview you once this has distribution. So we're so happy that it's going to be on PBS.
I am so grateful to PBS for taking such an interest in this film. They've been wonderful to work with. Thank you, PBS
Yeah.
World.
And it's the perfect place for your film to be on, actually. It really is.
Yep. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, you should be. You should be. Well, let's let's talk about your incredible career. First, you were a trailblazer. There, when you decided to go into photography, there were very I don't know if there were any women, but very few at best. And you came and you broke well, every glass ceiling there might have been. You broke it.
I was always somebody who was going to go for what I wanted and nothing would keep me back. So I think what you're talking about, the first book is Insights. Let me just show people the cover. And actually, this is a self-portrait of me walking down a pathway. And it, it looks like it is a double self-portrait. I had my camera on a tripod and so, but this book, it is the first book of self-portraits by women ever done. And I didn't know this until it came out in any art media because I was told by several historians that there was no, why wouldn't there have been a book of self-portraits by women, all these years? So I was thrilled that I just decided to go ahead and do it. And I put out an ad I didn't know anybody back then. I was, like I was just teaching, at an art school and I put out this we didn't have digital technology then. So I wrote some letters to the magazines and said, anyone interested in, showing their self-portraits, I'm doing a book. And all of a sudden I got like 1,000, submissions to me. And I realized this is really something this is its moment. So I was able to edit those pictures and I brought them to the publisher David Godine, who lived in Boston. He loved it. And but they were a little modest about how many to sell, but it sold out in 2 weeks. And
Wow.
now it's sold, close to 1 million copies. So yeah. At
You
any
go ahead.
That's all right.
Yeah,
At
you've done how many books have you done so far?
17,
Wow.
17 books.
Amazing, amazing. And they're all, bestsellers. Every one of your books has been a bestseller. And I want to get into Wise Women because that's one of your most popular books
I
that
will say that Wise Women, and I'll hold it up here for you all
yeah,
to see.
beautiful book.
It's one of my very favorite books, and it was another series that came to me because I felt all my relatives of a certain age had passed away, and I thought, I have no idea what it's going to be like when I'm older. Will people say that I'm over the hill? That's what people used to say back then. And I'm like, no, I'm never going to be over the hill. Thank you. But let's show some of these women. And I just hope that you have a chance. If you Google this, if of course Amazon has it, but if you Google it, you'll see a lot of these wonderful pictures. And some of them, I'd just like to talk about a few uh, that, really stuck out in my mind. This one, very much so.
Yes.
Uh, Oh, here it is.
And
Yeah.
how old is she? How old is?
Elva was 92 years old, and I went to an assisted facility, living facility, and asked permission to take photographs. And uh, at any rate, she was waiting to have dinner, and I said, "Would you mind just spending, a minute or two with me? I'd like to photograph you." She says, "And I'd like to interview you." Oh, she said, "I'd have nothing important to say, Miss Tennyson." I said, "Elva, come here, please. Just have a seat." And then I said, "So, what do you think you can still remember, about that was wonderful?" And she said, "I can still remember what it feels like to love with all my heart."
Oh, wow.
And when she finished, she said, "Miss Tennyson, will that do?" And I was like, "Oh my God." Just so the stories in this book, because I did ask them if I could interview them at the same time. And when I do an interview, I plan to be over and done in 15 minutes because I feel like it's fresher that way for me. And I'm looking for just something that resonates with me as being really different. Look at this one. Look
Oh
at
my
her.
gosh.
Isn't that an
Amazing.
amazing?
Amazing. Yes.
And
Everybody, you have
she's
to watch this on YouTube, this interview on YouTube
and
to see these
what
amazing.
Zelda Kaplan said after her husband died in Florida, she said, "I always wanted to move to New York, so I moved to New York and started my own, a studio making clothing. Look at her." And
Oh
she
my goodness.
says, "I used to dance a lot, but unfortunately, all my partners are dead. Now I travel to remote villages around the world where women weave their own cloth. I design all my clothes and try to keep the integrity of the cloth. This one makes me feel like I'm a mythic priest who brings joy and love to the people around her." I
Beautiful.
mean, and
Beautiful.
oh, wait a second, I forgot something. She said to me, "Do you know what that is, Miss Tennyson? The ring?" She said, "It's a fertility ring. You never know these days with modern science." Don't you love that?
I love it. I love it. I
I
love it.
love it.
Oh, it's such a great book. Joyce, tell me a little bit about, because your style is very unique and you have it's very mystic feeling and dreamlike and visionary. How did you come to your style of photography?
It just, I have always felt that what's most universal is most deeply the person who's creating it and is close to it. And I just feel that I was very lucky that I was able to tap into being intimate with people easily. I think it's because I was one of four girls and we used to just talk all the time and, kind of secret and stuff like that. So it's easy for me to talk to people. And then I want to know more. I want to know more and know their secrets. And I can tell mine. And I'm teasing.
That's great.
Oh, look at this. I photograph celebrities like the incredible. Do you recognize
I,
her?
I don't from where I'm sitting.
Because you're too far away. That is Gloria Steinem, who was just
Oh,
90.
wow. Is
She was
Gloria
just
Steinem
90.
90? Oh
Can you
my
believe
goodness.
that? And
No, I don't believe it.
yes.
And
And
going strong. She looks fabulous.
going strong. And she was such a role model for me. And when I got a chance to photograph her, it was a Sunday morning, and she was in no hurry to leave because she had missed an appointment. She felt badly. So at any rate, we realized that the reason we connected so strongly is that both of us were living out our mother's dreams. Her mother wanted to be a traveling journalist. Like who? Like Gloria Steinem became. And her mother could never do that because back then she had three children. And Gloria decided not to have children because she did not want the life that her mother had. And uh, she really felt so strongly about charting her own her own pathway the way her mother never could. And my mother also, I think maybe she was a brilliant woman, but because of the depression and living in a poor family then, she couldn't go to college and she couldn't become the person she could have been. And before she knew it, she had 4 kids in 5 years. You know, those Catholics back then. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm teasing, but it,
No,
it,
it's
it-
true.
yeah, it's true. I just felt that I needed to go for what I knew I could do, and I just couldn't make any excuses.
Amazing. And you at the time, did you have any? I mean, you started in advertising, right? You did a lot of
No, I started with in teaching art in art school,
art school. Okay,
and I was teaching a lot of portraiture and but not, feeling the soul of people rather than to doing anything that was more like commercial. Although after I became successful as an artist, the magazines wanted me and I got to travel around the world uh, because I had a signature style, and that's ultimately what people want. And I
right,
got a
right.
chance to see amazing
So you
women of all nationalities like Cicely Tyson.
love
She,
her.
I mean, she's just was the most amazing person that just spoke to me from such depth, and I'll never forget those moments. And look who we have here, Jane Goodall.
Oh, yes.
I
Beautiful.
tried to get her to photograph, and I was working with her booker, and he liked me, I liked him, but we couldn't. She was just too overbooked. And then finally, um, one day during a snowstorm, he called me and he said, "Joyce, you know what? You may be in luck. She's in town. Jane Goodall cannot go anywhere. But if you can walk, I think only 12 or 15 blocks in the snowstorm, you can get her. She's in this hotel and she said she'll do it." So
Wow.
how I was able to see her. And
Wow.
all of these have these wonderful stories. And oh gosh, this is so amazing. Look at Mimi Waddell.
Mm.
Look
Oh,
at her
yes.
face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, isn't that just
Beautiful.
He
Just
came to the
beautiful.
studio in the bowler hat,
Yes.
and I immediately I was finished photographing her in 5 minutes because she was just so perfect.
Ah,
And then I said, "You know what? I would love to see what you look like without that bowler hat. I bet you're even more beautiful." And there's the kind of image you had asked me about, the ones that have a more spiritual dimension.
right.
I just knew that she had that, and that the bowler cap image was really interesting, but I thought I could do something more memorable. And
It
so
is.
this is,
It
and
is beautiful. Let's dive into the documentary a little bit more because one of the things we did talk about is, and you just mentioned it, is getting in touch with your subject on a spiritual level, their essence. How do you go about doing that? And has there ever been somebody who's been very difficult that you haven't been able to connect to that spiritual level there and discover their essence?
honestly, I won't let them leave the room until I've done it because that's what I'm here to do. And the person that I had the most enchanted relationship was early on, helped me develop that, because this is uh,
Yes, that's
Suzanne. And
beautiful.
doing a contortion, believe it or not. I met her and we were an immediate,
Uh,
like sisters. And later on, I found out that we think our grandfathers were born in the same small town in Sweden.
Wow. Wow.
And at any rate, so we had that connection somewhere. And I guess when I met her, all of that opened up.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. One of the things I loved about the beginning of this film when it opened up is that, it's just a shot of you alone, in the morning. And you talk about that and you have a choice of how you're going to live your day. And I love that. You talked about, you have the choice of either, walking on the path of fear and anxiety or the path of creativity and love, and you decide which path you're going to be on. Where did that come from for you to be able to start your day that way? How did that happen for you?
That's a good question. I I did take a lot of classes on in meditation as I was going, especially after I moved to New York City. That's when I was in DC. I wasn't really being accepted. They said it was too female. And so I wasn't getting the shows that I thought that I should be getting. And so I went to New York and, I had no money and I got a little, sublet and I just decided that I was going to go for it. And the doors opened. And
Right.
actually then this one I didn't show you of Suzanne and the snake. Can you see it? It's like a snake vertebrae.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Wow.
so that's sort of like getting into the inner part. It's like seeing your inner self. And there's just something about that snake skeleton being so present in her present life
Right.
forever, right? That it is our spiritual essence.
Where did you get that fortitude to know that, nothing was going to stop you? They were saying things were too female. I mean, so many people give up, and yet you did not. And you, as you said, you didn't have any money. You moved from DC to New York. Where did you get that inner fortitude to know that what you were doing, well, first of all, it's your passion and about how you needed to express your artistic self to the world. But where did that come from? Where did that inner energy?
That's a good question. I think it really came from having been deprived as a child because I came from a Weston, which is a suburb of Boston where a lot of Harvard and MIT families live. And uh, the schools were great. And I wanted to be the best in my class. And so I was. And I wanted then to get a scholarship to go to France that the school was offering. And my mother said, "Oh, why would you even try? Who are you?" And I just said, "Oh, uh, and I went upstairs and forged her signature. So, I won't, I won't be put down. I don't care who it is, but there's something inside of me after watching my mother, who was such a beautiful, brilliant person, have to have none of her dreams pretty much, except for having nice children. But she died early on of cancer, and I think it's because she made too many compromises. I just don't think that she was alive and spiritually anymore, and I never wanted to see that happen again.
That's the generation, unfortunately.
Well, they were wonderful people and they
Yeah,
sacrificed for their children. And
right. Right.
yes,
Yeah, totally. Let's talk about, how did this documentary come about? How did you decide to do a documentary
this
about
is one of the funniest stories you can imagine. All right. So Randy Gephardt, who's a wonderful producer director and was of this film along with two other wonderful people, but he took a class of mine because he was moving into filmmaking. He'd been a successful businessman and somebody said to him, if you're going to be a documentary, filmmaker, you've got to take good portraits. And do you know how to do that? And he said, no. And the guy said, you should take Joyce Tennyson's class. And so he joined. And we had a great time, small class, like maybe 12 people. And at the end of the class, when everyone left the room, he said, Joyce, would you let me do a documentary on you? And I said, you're kidding. He said, no, I had so much fun with you in this class. All we did was laugh, and the pictures turned out great at the end of the class. We came from nothing to such a higher level. And I said, well, if you're willing to take the chance, I'll do it. And that's how the
it?
documentary happened.
Wow. And then when you started the documentary, it was going one way, I'm sure, one direction. And then during the filming of the documentary, a 45-year-old secret was uncovered during the filming of this. you want to talk a little bit about, because it became the pivotal point in this documentary, and it wasn't an intention to begin with.
Well, was something that happened quite by accident. And that was that my son Alex took a DNA test. His wife had given him a gift for Christmas, and it alerted him to the fact that he had other brothers and a sister who lived in Washington, D.C. And he contacted them, and it was true that they were really his brothers. Well, two brothers and a sister. And he was furious with me because I had never told him. But what had happened is that I couldn't have children, or I had a lot of fertility, workups when I was in my 20s, and it seemed I couldn't have any. And I was depressed about it, of course. And I met this psychiatrist, and we started having an affair. And, in a couple of weeks, I was pregnant, and I was so shocked by it. And he thought maybe I should have an abortion. And I said, oh, oh no. And he said, but I can't be involved. And he had a family. I said, no, it'd be great if actually we didn't have anything else. I'm not going to ask for anything. This is a great yearning of mine, and here it is, and I'll take over. And when I told my husband what had happened, he just said, well, are you in love with this man? And I said, no. And he said, and you know, do you want to go further in this? And I said, no, I'm just going to have the baby. I'm going to take the baby myself. And he said, well, I would like to be a partner on that because it's what we always wanted. And he said, my only stipulation is that I don't want you ever to tell anyone. I don't want you to tell your sister. I don't want you to tell your friends. And I didn't. And then finally, when the DNA test came out, I had to tell the truth. And Alex was, understandably upset with me for some time because I had not been able to tell him that. But I think luckily for me, he realizes now, and is very thrilled, of course, because he has 4 grandchildren. And I'm even more thrilled that he has 4 grandchildren. And just
That is
because.
wonderful. Yeah,
And it,
beautiful, beautiful family.
can you help me? Can I
Yeah,
see this?
beautiful family. Yeah, it's
At any rate, so there they are. Oh, sorry.
so
Okay.
that became a big, and we're gonna, unfortunately, our time's running out, but that became a big part of this film that was unexpected. Isn't it interesting how things happen, and how beautiful that is to get that story out too as part of this documentary.
Honestly, it came out when Randy and I are sitting at my kitchen table, and we had already started filming and all of that. And then when that came out, he said, "Oh my God, Joyce, this is like amazing. Why didn't you tell me before?" And I said, "Well, I didn't tell anyone, and it just happened."
It,
So
yeah, well, it's and Alex is a beautiful, beautiful
he's a
soul.
wonderful person, and he has a great family, and I'm so proud of him.
Well, it's a beautiful documentary. It's going to be on PBS this month of December. It's going to be on PBS World, PBS YouTube, and PBS Passport Streaming. So you can find Unveiled, the heroine's journey, on PBS. And I really seek it out. There's beautiful. Joyce has shown some, and that's why everybody should be watching this on YouTube. Some beautiful photographs, but there are so many in this film, and it's a spectacular, beautiful documentary, Joyce. So thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Next time you come out to Santa Barbara.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing how you show this all, and I'm so thrilled that you thought of me.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. To all of my loyal listeners who would like to support the Jan Price Show, now you can do that, and it's a tax-free donation. you can go to creativevisions.org. That's creativevisions.org. And you can go to the podcast section and find the Jan Price Show. By supporting the Jan Price Show, you're also supporting other documentary and independent filmmakers because a portion of the donation goes to future documentary and independent filmmakers. So I hope you all will support the Jan Price Show so I can continue to give voice to independent and documentary filmmakers. Thank you all.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks again.
Thank you.